Hi, Tommy Heffernan here. It's video 7 in our series of being brilliant at the basics, equine gut health, and a look at the gut microbiome. Today's one is a really interesting one. It's colic and the gut microbiome. Now, I must point out that the research is ongoing. So over the last, particularly couple of weeks, I've been putting together a white paper and doing a lot of work on, I suppose, reading papers themselves around all areas of the equine gut microbiome. And there's some research, but there's a lot more to do. But it is an interesting area when we think about the gut microbiome and its impact on colic. There's certainly different types of colic. We know that impaction colic, when we get fecal material building up, maybe it could be reduced roughage or water. We know that gas colic is this production of excessive gas. Because the equine abdomen is such a pressurized and tight space that any gas buildup can cause really excessive pain. We've got spasmodic colic, so this is the gut, that's the gut wall spasming. We've got strangulation, where you have blood flow supplied to the gut being compromised, very serious. We can look at enteritis and colitis potentially leading to colics. Some parts of the world, sand ingestion causes colic, and then we have these surgical structural colics as well. So we know that it's a veterinary emergency, and you need prompt treatment when you see the symptoms of horses pawing, rolling, excessive sweating, in discomfort. Symptoms people are familiar with. I suppose the one thing I will say is colic is a symptom. So all the types of colic I described there, they're very much symptoms. So what's the root cause of it? We know the risk factors can be diet changes, excessive grain, stress, parasites, breed age, ulcers, post-surgery, too much exercise, not enough exercise. There's lots of factors there. What is interesting is colic is a symptom. All the risk factors that we talk about are also risk factors for changing gut microbiota. So when you read the research papers, and again from looking at, I suppose what I've learned about the gut microbiome, what I've seen practically as well with precision microbes, is when we have a shift in the gut microbiome, we get a shift like I've talked about in previous videos in the diversity that can impact the gut flora, it can impact at a cellular level. Now the question is, and the research is, that certainly I would say, again, observational evidence, Tommy's observational evidence, that some of the risk factors for colic probably are preceded by shifts in the gut microbiome, particularly when we look at diet changes, maybe going out onto lush pasture, maybe come in from lush pasture to confinement, and a higher, maybe a higher starch diet. So there's lots of contributing factors that may be predisposing changes in the gut microbiome, which may be leading to the symptoms of colic. It's a really interesting area when we look at the gut microbiome. Again, colic is a symptom. We've got to get more research on it. And even when I look at my experience across species, particularly from grazing animals, I've looked a lot at pasture and looked at grasses over the years and how they've changed. And certainly from my ruminant experience, we've seen some issues where, we've got low fibre, probably high in nitrogen, high in conjugated linoleic acids. When we think about hindgut fermentation in lush pasture, well, they may have an impact, like we're seeing some of the diseases we're seeing in ruminants may actually be impacting our hindgut fermenters in our horses as well. Particularly when we look at the 60% of the digestive system is that hindgut fermentation vat, small colon, large colon, cecum, and rectum. But it's something we need to look at. So there is considerable shifts that occur that predispose to colic, diet being the big ones. There's certainly diet changes, but they probably predispose, knowing what we know about the gut microbiome, in shifts in the gut microbiome, and that may be leading to colic. It's one to watch. Certainly it's an area to watch, but I think the gut microbiome, this is my two eyes, and colic is an area that more research is needed, just as well I put the eyelashes on. More research is needed, but definitely really interesting. So video 8 coming up, stress, a really big one. Stress and the impacts of the gut microbiome is video 8. See you for that one.
Ponies that have been on it, that are competing very consistently, are just in great condition. They've just really on top form this year.
She couldn't recommend the product more. She actually recommended it for a horse of my own, and she just said, try it, you won't be disappointed, and I'm not.